Hi, I'm sorry for being away for so long. Kids being sick and stuff. And also, I've had some appointments with my kid and some meetings. But either way, I'm here. I have a little bit of time, and let's see if we can pick up where we left off and hopefully try and finish this change to the Larabelles website. Um, meanwhile, I've remembered that we can use a different rate to refresh our database between tests. The difference between the refresh database rate and the lazily refresh database is that while the refresh database trait, when put in our base test case, will refresh and reset our database between every test, the lazily refresh database trait will only do that for tests that actually require a connection to the database. In our case, it shouldn't make that big of a difference because I think that all our tests will actually require a database connection at some point or another. But still, it's a nice thing, I think, to point it out that it exists and that you can use it. And also, I've seen a post on Twitter from Taylor a while ago while I was browsing on the subject that it is the default since version 8 point something on Laravel actually. So you're probably already using this trait and weren't even aware of it. But either ways, let's just see what Taylor was saying. Beginning next week, new Laravel applications will have a lazily refresh database trait, and that message just got off screen, on the base test case class. So that means that you'll never have to import or refresh database trait on your individual feature test classes again. Well, actually, I've had to do that, but probably because this was a project that started before this change was put into place on the Laravel base installation. So, a quick reminder, I think we were on our test, sponsors test, and we were creating a sponsor, but it wasn't being saved on our database. Let's just try and see. Let's try and run our tests, PHP, artisan, test, filter, sponsors. And actually today I'm running Firefox instead of Opera because I just have too many tabs open there, and I'm hoping that this will actually make a small difference with my computer and how fast it runs. Yeah, I'm working on getting a new one. It's hard. It's hard to choose a new PC. Yeah. Actually, meanwhile this runs, I'm actually surprised because I found that many laptops on the price point that I'm looking at, which is around the same price point that I've paid for my current laptop, are only fitted with an onboard graphics card. So while you can get an i7 processor and actually around 16 gigabits of RAM, then you get an onboard graphics card, which I don't think it will be enough for my needs. So I'm trying to get the best deal for what I have, and shopping around with a little more detail to see if I find something suitable. But I'm actually amazed. I was out of the market for so long that I wasn't aware of the rise in onboard graphics card only. When I bought my PC back in 2012, all laptops I think had two or one dedicated graphics card, or you had two graphics card like what I have, the onboard and the dedicated one. Either way, let's get back to it. So we have a dump for null, so we aren't creating a sponsor. And let's see if we did the response and check out what is happening. I think we can response dd. I'm trying to go a little bit fast because I don't have much time. As you probably can tell from my latest um, streams, I usually need to run at around 10:40, 10:45 to get my kid, and it's already 10:25, so not much time here. I'm having a forbidden 403 again, and I think I know that why this is happening. I had to let me hide my screen for a bit. I had to make some changes to the project because my Git was going off Rails. So this is probably a configuration I need to use. Probably I will need to set my user on the user factory, and yeah, it's already set here. And then I'll just take a look at my PHP unit, and our user on the PHP unit was not the same as it was being set on the user factory, so it wasn't able to log in. Let's try and run our test again. It was actually a problem that we faced before, so it was a quick one to go around now. It's just a matter of setting the email on PHP unit for Nova login as the same as we are using on the user factory. So what we have here, I'm looking for something a little bit more readable. Let's try and scroll a bit faster. I think that this is probably an error with some validations. So I'm trying to look at that. Actually, if you are aware of a dump that I can do to try and find what's wrong faster than just a DD of the whole request, do let me know. Hi, olá, Francisco e Caneco. I see that you're both Portuguese, so I think I can say olá to both of you. Thanks for joining me. And yes, it's a wonderful day here, sunny, but really cold. So stay inside if you don't like the cold. And God, this dump never ends. And it didn't end. Let's try and do DD. I think the result will be the same. And let's just see if we have a response helper to, whoops, wrong keyboard shortcut, no suggestions. Response, no, okay. Actually, this is a problem that I've been having with my past tests. The autocomplete doesn't really work, and I'm actually not sure why this is. Maybe dump headers. Let's try. And by the way, before the headers, we can try and DD just the response. Let's kill two birds with one stone. Not literally, you know. Okay, method does not exist. So I just made up one method. But anyways, let's try and look at the the parameters that we're passing on our post. As we've seen on our Nova sponsor resource, it has the company name, which is company, the ID. Okay, company ID we're not passing because it's auto-generated. The image file, and it looks to me that this select Okay, so type with an uppercase T, it's actually what the label for the field. And when you take a look at, let's say, the image, you have the label for image with a capital I, and then you have image underscore file. So this is probably what's stored on the database. And so following that, yes, the type, I think it should be lowercase. Let's try this and see if our sponsors are stored. If I wasn't live and I had a little bit more time, I would try to see how to improve that dump of the request and take a look at exactly what we're having as a problem for not being able to store our sponsors. And now, yes, that was actually the problem because we do have a sponsor on our database. And let's okay, we've navigated to the form, actually filled it, submitted, and now we need to check everything was created as we wanted. So created with a D, not an S. How shall we do this? Well, the easiest way is to assert that the database has our user, but as I kind of promised Dan, I will try and make this test using no expectations instead of assertions. So let's try. Let's give a quick look at expectations on pasts. And if you weren't aware of it, instead of running this assert true, so you're trying to see if something is true and you are expecting a value to be X. There are many expectations for you. Hi, hi, no. Um, Actually, this stream, this series of streams, isn't focused on testing, but I'm using testing as a way to make sure that what I'm doing is correct. So our initial problem was that we needed to be able to publish and unpublish sponsors, and I think that it is fitting to show how to test this to make sure that your code is working properly. And I thought of doing that live so that all of you could see how I would try and do this, but with a little bit of time pressure on me right now. So I'm trying to speed things up and also trying to learn how to speed up a little bit of my development times. So, and also thank you for being here, Nono. We have expectations, so we are going to see if what we have on the database matches with the user that we've created. More specifically, if we pass published and the user is published, and when we pass unpublished, the user is unpublished. So I was actually a little bit not confused, but when something is new to you, you need to read it. And I was trying to find also a good example for you to see, so to show you. So from the documentation, we can see that the base thing that we need to do is to expect that our user, and now one thing that I'm seeing, I need to get that user. So user, actually user, it's on the documentation. In our case, it's a sponsor. Spawn. Oh, go on, little computer. Sponsor model first. We should only have one on the database because we've only created one. And we expect that this sponsor, and now comes a little bit of magic from past. We are going to call, I'm not sure of the syntax, we'll try to see it in a little bit, but I want to check if the name of the sponsor is, oh, well, actually, I'm making things up. I want to make sure that the company of the sponsor is new sponsor. And again, I'm just eyeballing this, and we'll see how the documentation actually says that we we should do this. And the URL should be, let's put this on a variable because it won't be the same if we generate a new URL. Let's add it here for our sponsor that we are creating and for testing our expectation. Now for these magic methods, I'm not sure actually how Pest calls it, but let's see on the documentation. So these are all the expectations that we can call, and I think that what I'm looking at, it's in the end of this page. The pressure from creator, yes. Absolutely, Kaneko. But I think he won't beat me up if I'm not that good at it. So this is what we are trying to use, higher order expectations. So we are expecting the sponsor company to equal the company name, but we can do it more elegantly. So we can expect the user company name. So we already have that company, in our case, to equal, let's remove this tick, new sponsor, and then it should be just about the same for the remainder of our example. We are not doing anything that advanced that we require sequences and all that stuff. So we're just basically doing equal comparisons. So is the URL equal to the URL? And let's do that for the remainder of the other fields. So published to equal 1, and image file to equal sponsor image, and the type to equal platinum. Let me copy and paste this. And there we go. This should be our test for the database. Then we'll need to perform one last test to make sure that the image is stored. But let's run this and see if it explodes or if we are going okay. Oh, I just forgot. It's the shortcut to close the terminal again. I was pretty sure it was Control Escape, but yeah, I need to look at that one again. So we are running our test and it failed. Why? Failed asserting that this image name matches the object. So I think I passed on the wrong thing. Okay. I passed an image to the image file, but what happens is, on the database, we're not storing the image file, we're storing the image URL. And I'm just not sure if we just store this. Let's try and see how the Nova resource is storing the image. So I'm not sure that if Nova is renaming the image. Let's try and dump the sponsor just to take a quick look. It should be, I think, a matter of passing on the original image name, but if it is being renamed, it won't be that straightforward. We'll need to see what the rules are for the rename and if we can do anything to catch those. So image filed, yes, it's being renamed. Okay, so hi Susanna. Nice to find you here. I'm hoping that you like this little bit of Netflix, and it seems that I've just hit a wall now because the image name, the image name file is being changed when we uploaded that to Nova. So I'll try and see if there's anything on, I'd say Nova documentation, but I'm not sure Laravel, if we find anything in too much detail regarding Nova tests. And if we don't, I'll just try and Google it to see how we can test for that image in for that image file renaming. And yeah, I don't see anything specifically regarding Nova Laravel test image upload. Mm-mm. And yeah, nothing really comes up with testing. Much better than Netflix. I'm not sure what you've been watching on Netflix, but I'm pretty damn sure that you can see something, I don't know, better, more entertaining. Yeah, I'm not finding how to actually test this. I mean, just for the sake of trying to finish this, let's skip this test. And meanwhile, I'll try and see and Google how we can test that, and maybe do that on another time. And also, if you know how to test this, feel free to drop me a comment, and then I will include it on next stream. So our test ran. Let's just again. I was thinking of making sure that our file actually exists on the disk after we create our sponsor. But since I don't, what is this hash name? Let me just try and did this to see if it actually is the same thing. Could this be the answer? As the sponsor image file. We want a sponsor image for the hash name. Could this be it? That was a line I grabbed from Laravel documentation, and I was just there, so I wasn't forgetting to. And it is. Okay. So that's our problem solved. I grabbed this line, as I was saying, from Laravel documentation. It was their example on how to test file uploads, and apparently they just called the hash name for the file. So what we'll need to do is to compare if the image file in our database equals our sponsor image hash name. And I think that our test should run. Yeah, it did run. So we can complete our test. And here we passed the sponsor image. And I'm not sure what task we are using. Let me just hide my screen to see if to see notes to prevent me from showing something that I'm not supposed to. But I will tell you what I'm trying to do. I'm going to the config file systems file and see what drivers we are using, and we are using local and public. And I'm also going to check our public folder to see what images we have, and we have a structure of public images sponsors. So we need to use the public driver, but I think I need to pass in. Okay, it's the public driver, and I'll probably need to pass in the images. I'll show you in a bit what I'm doing. Sponsors directory, and then append. Let's get back to it. And then append the image hash name. So public disk, these are the directories, and then the file name. Let's try and run our test. Thanks, Susanna. It failed. Why did it fail? Unable to find the directory of path or images sponsors. So this is something that I always spend a lot of time, a lot, running around and trying to see what I'm doing wrong with the directories. But for the sake of these live streams, I will consider that this was done successfully. Let me try. Yeah, my alarm is going off. Let me try not pass the directory and see if this just goes. What is happening now is that not on testing, but while creating an actual sponsor. Okay, while creating an actual sponsor, we are storing sponsor images on a file, not directly on our disk. And I was trying to mimic that with our tests. So in this case, the test ran while storing the image directly on our disk. I will later try and see if how this project is actually taking the images from sponsors and storing them. If there's any actual model observer or something to move them to the right folder, but it shouldn't. Yeah, model observers. I don't think I have one. I'll just take a quick look. Otherwise, I'll consider this test done. For our other tests, I can do this one pretty quickly. Yeah, if I can actually write English correctly, I will just basically duplicate this test. On our first test, we are trying to create a published sponsor. On this test, we are trying to create an unpublished sponsor, so it won't be published, and we are expecting published to be 0. And by the way, PEST has a functionality for you not to have to repeat your tests. You basically just set up your tests and pass in some variables. I'm not sure what the name of that is. Maybe higher order tests. So basically, you have a skeleton of of a test, and then you can run through it, passing on the different variables that you want those tests to run. So in this case, let me just minimize this and we'll get back to it in a little bit. In this case, I will just have one test, and then I will maybe, I'm making this up, but I will pass the published variable. And I was just trying to quickly show you before having to run. But it's probably something like this. You pass in a variable here, and then instead of using the 0 or the 1, you pass in published, and then again in your expectations, published, and then after you set your test, you want this sequence. I think it's maybe called a sequence with the variables that you wanted to run. First, you want to run it with 1 and then 0. So you will run a pass through these tests, and it will try and create a published sponsor, and then an unpublished one, and all your test code will run. I think this is a fun one for us to try. And data sets. Yes, I was thinking data in my mind because I was remembering you saying something on the PHP meetup. So I think this one will be for here they are for another one. Susanna, please don't kill me. I'm taking forever to finish this, but sorry. So for next time, we'll just try and run this with data sets. Oh, and I wasn't too far off. You actually pass on the variable on the function, and then it's with and not a sequence. And yeah, it should be, come on, I need to run, but it's with, and let me just call this something. Where are you? I'll skip this one because it would be redundant. Published. Sorry for my English Portuguese. Published and published. and it should now run both of our tests. Oh, sorry, we have an error here, but probably was something that I messed up. Let's see what happens. So fail asserting. Oh, this is how the data sets show you how the test runs. So we run the test. It can create unpublished sponsor with 1. It can create unpublished sponsor with 0. So we need to improve the name of our test so it makes sense. And then I'll need to see why our unpublished sponsors are not being stored correctly. And you see, this is the value of tests. If I wasn't testing, I would have to manually create one sponsor published and another unpublished and go to the database and check if it was rightfully stored. And then someone reviewing my code would have to do that manually. And with the test, we can just screen for these little things quickly. So I need to run. It's 11:50, and I need to be out the door today. I'll try and have a little bit of time tomorrow to finish this test and read a little bit about. It was the image name, but it we. Oh, the directories. So yeah, I'll try and do that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Nuno, Francisco, Caneco, and Susanna. And I love it that you're having so much fun. Well, bye. See you all tomorrow.